Hello everyone and welcome again on my YouTube channel Literary Vlogger Literature in Everyday Life. So today I'll be discussing a very topic which is very much controversial and as well as really exciting. So today I'll be discussing about the comparison of cinema and books. Controversial? Yeah, it is, because there were many people who don't prefer to convert books into adaptation. They feel like the literary quality of the books is get destroyed during that period of time, or during the conversion or the adaptation. But the thing which you have to analyze or realize that thing is cinema and writing book are two different mediums. So we will be discussing about the advantages or disadvantages or pros and cons of both the mediums, and how both these medium impact each other, and how they can come up and support each other, so that there won't be any controversies or many there would be ever going hatred of converting books into movies. So yeah, the entire motive of this video is that to inspire some people to watch movies, because as a literary student I watch a lot of movies and they have impressed me immensely. Because while reading books you get bored, whether it's literary theory or criticism or poetries and dramas, plays, but when you watch them you have experience. Because writing something is really easy, by you just use words and you can go from here to there. But when you convert that thing into a movie, you have to think about the very structure, the nuances, and the texture of the clothes which the protagonist or the characters is gonna wear, and how what kind of impact that thing will have on the psychology of the viewer. But in writing, somewhere I feel that that thing is not depicted in that clarity. So yeah, so that is the very crux or the very gem of the whole discussion. And let's see how it goes, and let's get into the video. So the first point is of books, because books are very conventional and traditional and they have been written for a long time. So books are really easy and inexpensive, anybody can write them. That's advantage of them. If you want to write a poetry or you want to write a drama play, what you have to buy one pen, book or whatever. You can start writing, and you can write anything or everything which comes into your brain, because there is no restriction in that. So because imagination can run wild in that. So that is the advantage of books, and anybody can have it and experiment with them. Yeah. And the second point is of disadvantage. What disadvantage book have? Books are really limited to words only. They just leave you hanging somewhere in the absurd and oblivion, where you can't find anything, because they are just words. They don't have life. They can't talk to you. They can't tell you how they feel. So that's the disadvantage which I really hate about books, because they can't talk back. Whatever you learn, you have to think on your own. You have to get this thing. Books are doesn't have any kind of life. They don't talk back. And the advantage of reading book is it provide you solace. That's for sure. That, on that point I can agree with anybody. They provide you solace, because during reading a book you don't have to concentrate on many things. You don't have to concentrate on the color grade. You don't have to concentrate on the pacing of the movie. You don't have to consider take in consideration what will happen. That depends what kind of book is you are reading. But the total energy which you are spending is reading, because you are doing that thing alone. I know, yeah, you are inside your brain, there are a whole lot of map is getting mingled up, and you are scattering all the words and everything. But still it provide you with solace. It doesn't shakes you that much, unless and until it's really compelling book. So that is a great point. It provides you with solace and calmness and peace. And what great obligation books have on movies is that they provide a source for movies. So in that case, movies are really indebted to books, because from the very beginning there are many movies which are the screen adaptations of the great books, whether it is by James Avery's Dickens novel, or we have many writers who are adapting the books of great writers and authors, or plays. So in that case, cinema is greatly indebted to literature and the books. So yeah, and lastly, the thing which I want to say about books is that you don't have to rely on my judgment. Like it's for everybody, it's like their own thing. This is like according to me. If anybody like really feel good about books, that's up to you, man. Like that's your own take. I have nothing to do with it. But yeah, books are really great medium. I agree with that. But everybody have their own choice. We can agree to disagree. So yeah, and one more thing, like everybody's psychology differs. So like yeah, if you're really into books, that depends, because if you're really great imagination, you can imagine things. But at Ludwig Wittgenstein has said that we memorize things by like imaging. So our very senses from the time we are born, we are like very much visual, because in the beginning when we are born, like till 3 to 5 years, we don't like get the very nuances or like the very fine understanding of the language. Even like it takes a lot of time to learn a language, but visually you can like learn things really quickly. So that is an advantage, and that is scientifically proven. So if you love the books, that's good for you. I mean, like go ahead and like like read a lot of books, but also watch some movies. And so right now I'm gonna talk about movies, and like which are really amazing and the finest creation of men which have like man has invented. And talking about movies, if I have to talk about movies, there are like a lot of great movies. And what movies does for me personally, like they just get me into a different world. Like you can imagine, and now you can imagine, you can just see like how people used to live, because there is whole lot of research, and like there are great people who have given their like blood, sweat and time to make movies. Like there are a lot of nuances which you can find in movies. So the very first advantage which movie had is like they're really detailed and like finely expressed. So one point. And like, and now coming to the second point is like movies are really expensive. You have to admit the fact, like they're really expensive, because making a movie is not like you decide to let's go and make a movie. Of course you can do that right now, because the technology has changed. You can now make movies with phone, but yeah, you have to have certain quality with that. And the third point is that like watching movies consume less time. Yeah, you can watch a entire movie in like 3 to 4 hours, or like maximum like 7 hours. There are some movies that are like pretty long, but you don't have to watch them if you don't care about them. But yeah, a normal movie is like 2 to 3 hours long movie, and it provides you and it gives you like the taste, the very smell of that thing. When you can feel those things. So it expresses a lot of things, a lot of nuances and details are there, and like people work really hard at that. And what you can do literally, like talking about like academic, not like going into deep into like the very creation or the production of the movies. What we can do academically, it's helpful, because we are talking about literature and movies. So like what movies does for a literary student is that they just provide you with the very map, and whatever you read, like whether you read Shakespeare, Marlowe, you don't have the, what do you call that right now, what's the right word, you don't have like the luxury or the luxury to like go somewhere and watch. You can watch that thing on YouTube, and like there are many adaptations which are made by many great directors. So like that really help. And reading literary theories can't help you like that, but when you read movies and analyze movies, and like whatever you have learned, whether it is like structuralism, post-structuralism, because every art is impacted by like the social structure or social change or social dynamic change. It affects everything. So what you can do as a literary student, you can watch movies and try to analyze, because there are like very fine lines of great poets. Like I remember recently I watched a web series on an app called Picasso by one of like, I don't know the director's name, sorry for that. But there was like Robert Frost line, uh, woods are lovely, dark and deep, but you have to go miles before you sleep. Because but I have to miles before I have to go miles before I sleep, by Robert Frost. And they are like very fine nuances, because like whatever director is directing, like they have like great literary knowledge, so you can like find those nuances in the movie and find little details about the psychology of the characters and like how things work. Because at the end of the day, experience and awareness is the one thing. Like forget about movies and like books, but if you're aware about your surrounding and you spend time with real people and have real experiences, that helps you a lot. So movies have that thing, I guess. You may agree with me, or you know. So like if I have to give you example why it's like really good, like convert movies and like how movies will help you in your literary journey. Because when you imagine about like Anglo-Saxon age or like Beowulf or the works of Greeks and like Roman works, you don't know about Virgil, you don't know Troy, how it was like. But when you see in movies, like you can see the nuances, you can see the expression, the body language, and the very what do you call that, their motives and like what life was like during that period of time. Because see, the after World War II and World War One, what was the change in the movies and what was the change in literature? The very sensibility of people get fragmented. And you can imagine that time when people were like fighting for survival, whether it is like Battle of Troy, whether it was like Beowulf, or in Indian constant like Indian context, you have many when Mughals came, or like after that British came. So you can see that thing in the movies, which books somewhere lack. So in that journey, I'm not saying you have to replace movies with the books or books with the movies. They have their own abilities at their own places. But what you can do, you can just like remodel your own sensibility and like enhance your personality by watching great movies. And they're like great cinema which is like really free. And the things you can start with, like start with very basic, start with the very silent movies. You can start with like Charlie Chaplin, you can start with Buster Keaton, you can start with, and like you can start with the very first movies which were made, which was like the Great Train Robbery. It's like silent movie. Then there is like the Birth of a Nation, then there is Gone with the Wind, and there are many movies. And same goes for the book, and same goes for poetry. It's like for you how much you really want to explore. So that was my take, like to why you should watch movies, listen to music, and like poetries and dramas. Because it will like keep you that environment. It's not just by reading books you will be able to understand everything at one go. It's not like that. You have to live in that. Mr. Jordan Peterson, one of the great psychologists which I really admire, man. Like that man has really changed my life. So he said that thing, it doesn't matter how much you read, but like how much you think about it and like how you revise that thing in your brain. And by the time when you see poetry, or when you see plays, when you see dresses of the people, that thing get like revived into your brain. Whether it's like Elizabethan dramas and poetries, when you read them and you try to like conceptualize them in your brain, it will really help you to like crack competitive exam, like to sound be very much academic. It will help you really. So yeah, so that's all for today's video. I hope it will be really helpful to you. And if you have anything to say to me, you can like comment down below. Yeah, so take care and have a great life ahead. And until then, just keep on searching for the literature in your everyday life. Take care.